Montana's news leader, this is the MTN Noon News.
And good afternoon. Thanks for joining us on your noon news. I'm Andrea Lutz. The trial for a former Minneapolis police officer charged with the death of George Floyd resumes again this afternoon. And so far, testimony is focused on the restraint that Derek Chauvin used during the arrest. Naomi Ruckham shows us what's happening today inside and outside of the courtroom.
As the trial for Derek Chauvin moves into its 8th day, crews have replaced the fence surrounding the Minnesota Capitol building. This one more secure than the fence quickly installed last May when protests escalated. Inside the courtroom, more officers came forward to testify against Chauvin and his actions the day he pinned George Floyd to the pavement for nearly 9.5 minutes.
Sir, is this an MPD trained neck restraint?
No, sir.
Has it ever been?
Not to my neck restraint, no, sir.
Records and court testimony show Chauvin received extensive training on the appropriate use of neck restraints. One instructor told the jury Minneapolis police are taught to stay away from the neck when possible and to restrain with a knee on the back or shoulder if necessary. Another use of force expert testified that Chauvin's actions were excessive.
Once he was placed in the prone position on the ground, they should have slow down or stop their force as well.
Also central to the defense's case, possible testimony from Maurice Hall. Hall, a friend of Floyd's, was sitting in the SUV when officers approached last May. His lawyer says he wants to avoid testifying so he doesn't incriminate himself. Back outside the courthouse,
we get the verdict and we get this conviction, we'll be able to breathe.
Floyd's family and supporters gathered for a prayer vigil as the case presses on. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News.
A total of 9 Minneapolis police officers have now testified against Chauvin, swearing under oath that he went too far. Today, some of them will be called to reappear for further questioning. All right, this afternoon, a 57-year-old Trigo man is sitting in the Lincoln County Jail awaiting a court appearance for allegedly shooting and killing his son. The Lincoln County Sheriff's Office says they received a call from Eureka Dispatch early Monday morning from a man who said he had just killed his son. Law enforcement found 31-year-old Zini Kirkidal dead from a gunshot wound at their Trigo home. Scott Kirkidal was arrested at the scene and has been charged now with deliberate homicide. Also happening in Lincoln County, police say the body found east of Troy could be that of a missing man that was reported missing about a year ago. Deputies found an abandoned truck in the Shannon Flats area of Highway 56 on Saturday. 41-year-old Daniel Dolan has been missing since June. The body was taken to the Montana State Crime Lab for ID, but a cause of the death is yet to be determined. Community leaders say the creation of a new task force in Great Falls could help reduce crime in the city. The task force is comprised of 7 Great Falls residents, and commissioners say some pre-work has already been done to understand some of the issues currently facing law enforcement. Those representatives will help consult on ways to move forward.
The purpose of the Great Falls Crime Task Force would ultimately be to make recommendations to the City Commission and community to address crime issues immediately.
The task force will study a variety of issues for several months and then report back to the city manager with some proposals on how the city could handle some of those issues. All right, it seems that there could be a break in the clouds for much of the state today. Now it is time to check in on the weather. There's our Miller Robson. How's it going?
Days like this, I'm everybody's buddy. Yeah. But we may have some changes in the forecast, though. But first, let's talk about it here and now. Looking good across the state here in Montana with temperatures in the 50s and 60s. Northern Wyoming, 40s and 50s. We have a lot of sunshine out there right now. We did see some snow in southern parts of Montana, like Sheridan and Bighorn, just over an inch of snow this morning. Down near Red Lodge, 2.5 inches. But that's done now. But take a look at the northwestern corner of the state, heading toward Kalispell. We've got some clouds. You can see some snow and rain heading that way. We do have another system that's going to come through, and it's going to give us rain and snow. And that's not the only opportunity to see more of the wet stuff as we head toward the weekend. As this roller coaster weather continues, we'll take a look with the main forecast coming up, Andrea.
It's spring. No, it's not. It's spring.
Can't make up its mind.
Montana. Okay. Miller, thanks so much.
Okay.
President Joe Biden is aggressively moving on a timeline to get Americans vaccinated as fast as possible. And now more than 32% of all Americans have received at least one dose. The president announced that deadline for adult eligibility for COVID vaccines is now April 19th. You might remember it was previously set for May 1st. 36 states already opened eligibility to people 16 and older, and nearly all other states plan to expand that now by the president's new deadline. More people are becoming more optimistic about the direction of the pandemic. A new poll shows 35% of people are still afraid of catching the coronavirus. That's down from 49% back in February. And the poll also showed 77% of Americans believe the situation is improving. That's up from 60% in February. However, 64% of Americans feel that the pandemic continues to disrupt their lives in some way. This afternoon, Montana's First Lady, Susan Gianforte, is isolating after a positive COVID-19 test. But we're told the First Lady is asymptomatic. Meanwhile, Governor Greg Gianforte continues to exhibit some of those mild symptoms, including fatigue, but otherwise says he's feeling okay. The governor's 25 staff members have all received a negative test result. And the governor had already received that first round of his COVID-19 vaccine before testing positive. And health officials say it takes about an average of 2 weeks for the body to mount an adequate response to the virus. But a Billings doctor cautions, saying no vaccine is 100% effective. Even after both doses, it is possible, although rare, to contract COVID-19. It's because the vaccine does not expose you to the actual virus itself.
The most important thing is that what these vaccines do is they decrease your risk of by a lot by getting infected, and they decrease the severity of the disease if you do contract the virus after you have been immunized.
It is unknown how long the vaccine will offer protection, but some research is showing that the Pfizer vaccine is effective for at least 6 months. The hype over this year's Missoula Riverbank Run is growing after the 2020 virtual race was delayed. Now nearly 500 people have signed up, with 350 people choosing to run this year in person. But the course will be different than in years past to help create some more social distancing. But racers don't worry, because the course still goes through those beautiful Missoula locations.
Allowing a lot of extra space for people to physically distance. We'll have staging areas kind of in the fields around us, so people have plenty of room to hang out while they're waiting for their race. That's allowed us to be safer, more space, and then next year for the big 50th, we'll be back downtown to our roots.
You can still register online until race day. Of course, that's Saturday, April 24th. In Fergus County, grocery hauls are free to the community. And in the fall of 2020, the Human Resource Development Council of Lewistown got involved with food distribution to get low-income residents through that tough time of the quarantine. April 6 marked that first distribution in 2021, bringing over 500 people out to get their trunks loaded with free groceries.
I think it's a great positive thing for the community, especially last fall when everybody was kind of in an apprehensive mode with the COVID. It was a positive thing to have happen to them, and I think it still is. It's just uplifting for the community.
The food is given out by Family Service, which is an organization in Billings that picks up those food for groceries in Yellowstone County that otherwise would go to waste. What a neat program. We do have more ahead on today's new news, including checking in on a Big Fort golf course as they rebuild and move forward after a pretty tough last year. And Miller's back in with a look at that statewide weather forecast.